Well, I think this visit is based on the strategic partnership that Namibia has with China. Since our president came to office, she had to reach out to a number of friends who have been supporting us over the years, both politically as well as economic. And therefore, in fact, China was the first country outside Africa to be visited by our president. And that just underscored the importance that we attach to the relationship that we have with China. And the reason that we didn't want to make this just a political trip. You come to Beijing and you have some political talks, but also we reach out to those provinces. We met the provincial political leadership, we met the private sector, and we were also trying to connect some of our own regions in the country with this so that we can also have partnership between some regions in Namibia with Guangdong or with Shenzhen. So it was a comprehensive trip, but of course the focus was also on the economy. There's a lot of interest by Chinese company, especially in critical raw materials. There's a Chinese company that is already mining uranium in Namibia. We went to look at their nuclear plant. And there is interest across all sectors. We have met people who are interested in agriculture. We met people who are interested in chemical engineering to produce fertilizers and so on. So it was really all in all a successful trip. But the critical issue is just a follow-up. What's going to happen after the visit? And the president has been saying, you know, we have to see the result of this visit a few years down the line. And maybe it will even be faster than what one would expect. We have a huge delegation of private sector people. More than 200 people are here from the private sector. And that shows the interest that, that our private sector has in China for partnership. So on the whole, I think we are satisfied with the level of engagement. We are satisfied with the commitments we are getting. And you can see that this is really not just talk, but it's people who have been to Namibia, who have looked at opportunities, and who are willing to make the investments. Well, for me, you know, I have followed development in China from the 70s, the 80s, and 40 years ago, I was here. It was a different country. Look at what it is now. So that's a sense, that's a source of inspiration on the one hand, but also I believe there will be, or there are opportunity for a win-win opportunity. China being a large economy, Namibia being resourceful, and we believe that, you know, the few Chinese company that will reach out will attract other company also from China to come and invest in Namibia, and it will also attract Chinese competitors to also take advantage of this country. So we believe that China has a very important role to play, the Chinese private sector, and of course the government, because we have very close relations, and with minimal investment, we can really see that kind of transformation. Of course, investment is a slow process. It takes time, but I believe that the amount of investment that we expect, both from the private and the public sector, could be attained, and that is what is needed to actually transform our economy into that newly industrialized state that we all desire. Yes. Well, first of all, the zero tariff policy, it has two functions, or the impact will be at two levels. The one is it will stimulate export from Namibia to China. That's one. Secondly, because our products are not zero rated, it means the return on that investment or that export will even be higher. So apart from stimulating the export, it means that you get more value for your export. And that will contribute then to state revenue, which can be invested in education, health, and so forth. So it is indeed a very important policy. And we are grateful for it, and we want to take full advantage of it. Yes, well, the green energy in Namibia has quite unique potential. I was visiting a site of one of the sites where they are planning to invest in the production of green hydrogen using green energy, and primarily solar and wind. And unlike other places where you have sun on the one side and wind on the other, the strongest wind and the strongest sun are located in the same space. And that gives really a competitive edge. So there are some companies that have gone like producing green iron, using solar, green hydrogen, and so forth. So on the one hand, the whole issue of green energy was a decarbonization program, climate change, and so forth. But also increasingly, it is becoming an energy security issue. And therefore, the demands has now increased. And we'd like to take advantage of this window of opportunity because every crisis creates opportunities. And I think this is a great opportunity for the green energy transition. I think, China is a little bit of a latecomer into that space, but as usual, coming late and with full force. Therefore, on the green energy front, for example, Chinese equipment already are being acquired by companies in Europe and elsewhere for investment for their operations in Namibia. And therefore, China is leading in equipment production, in technology production, and we see the impact of that, including on the energy transition issue. Yes, no, it's very, very, very interesting. Of course, economy is always about population. And Chinese is a large population, and also with a relative welfare. You have good standard of living, and therefore, if you can see the investment from poverty reduction to a more quality of life, and as part of that quality of life, tourism will become a factor in that. So we expect a lot of inflow of Chinese tourists into Namibia. We are working at the early stage with Huawei to create what we call a smart city, and that will create then security, and reduce crime. And that will automatically also stimulate tourism, because if a tourist knows that I can walk safely to any corner of Namibia because of the security that this smart city concept provides. So again, that is another area of interest, and it will have direct bearing on tourism. Yes. Well, Namibia's tourism has always has not been a mass tourist country, as you know, because of the fragile ecology, but we have We have the desert, you have the wildlife, and it's diverse because some countries have one particular area, but we have diverse offering from the desert to the wildlife, and now increasingly also to science and innovations. You know, we are busy with putting up an observatory to be able to observe the black hole, as it were. And for science, yes, astrology. And so from astrology to wildlife to desert and the beach, of course, which is not so warm, but again, which has got its own attraction. So Namibia is a place to visit. And you will feel safe and feel welcomed. Well, you see, if you choose and pick and rank them, yes, it's one thing, but mining has been one area, especially in critical raw materials. We have seen Chinese companies getting involved in the mining of lithium, and not only mining, but also looking at processing lithium locally. So that's one. Agriculture is another one. There is so much land, so much opportunities, and of course also we had a meeting with one of the equipment suppliers of agricultural equipment. So that is another area, because if you talk about Chinese partnership, you have to look at it against our own development priorities, and which is like agriculture, mining as enablers. Of course, then you have the social sectors of education and health, and we are sending quite a number of students to China for training in various fields, especially medicine, but also engineering. Then health, we are also now looking at cooperation in the pharmaceutical sector. And of course, the creative industries, but above all, it's really job creation. And we are looking at how the whole area of financing development, how can we access financing from China, both in terms of technical cooperation, but also in terms of equity participation in projects in Namibia. So the whole range, and I believe that China can make a great impact. We just have to make it easy, you know, as leaders, for take quick decisions, issue licenses in the shortest possible time, shorten the time of, you know, allow skills to come into the country, and training programs for locals. So in short, I believe that with enhanced cooperation and this strategic partnership, China can be a very important partner in the transformation of Namibia. Yes, no, yes, indeed. I think as a producer of uranium, and we've seen the uranium coming from Wizap mine to Zidwentu, where you have the nuclear plant there. Now, what we want to do first is we want to train those nuclear experts. And the first step is to start by training, you know, so that once we move to the next phase of setting up this modular, you know, what do you call it? Yeah? These modular plans, at least you have the skills. So the first level of cooperation, it's really in the area of training. There's also now an agreement on the nuclear collaboration between the University of Namibia and some Chinese universities. that they will then start to set up a faculty of training. So we start with that level, build capacity, and then transition to various, because nuclear has so many applications, from energy to medicine and to, and in that whole basket, we'll see then what to focus on. But initially, is actually training, and obviously there is already cooperation at the level of, the mining of uranium. Chinese companies now involved in mining uranium in different sites, and is growing. Yes. No, I think when I came here the first time, and the irony of it, I was coming from Europe, where I was studying. And obviously, and also being a student of history, economic history, you saw what China was going through, issue of rural poverty, and and the China of 1984 and the China of today is miles apart. I would like to liken the experience of Europe with the U.S. When the Europeans were migrating to the U.S., it was a new world where technology was developing and so forth. And China has now become the new world where everything is happening. And we see even European companies making use of Chinese technology, American companies making use of Chinese technology. So that is what we have seen. We have seen a backward to a leader in so many sectors.